So we all have strengths and weaknesses. So the way I teach is to work on your strength and manage your weaknesses, because you don't want them to get bigger, but you do want to address them. But don't spend all your time working on your weaknesses and you don't work on your strengths, because the strengths are the things that are going to move you forward in life. And the weaknesses will be there and you can work on them and get better with them, but don't focus on the, it's almost like life. If you focus on negativity all the time and you never focus on anything positive, you're going to have a negative life.
This is Get Unstuck podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who prioritize their life first, business second. I'm Mutita Panmook, your host, who dedicates my life to designing and building a business that supports lifestyle. We will learn together from entrepreneurs around the world how they overcome their life challenges, their business obstacles, and yet still get unstuck from the hamster wheel of burying themselves into their business. Because time is the number one commodity in the world that you cannot get back once it's gone. So let's shorten the learning curve and see how can we prioritize better. Let's get unstuck. Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. Our guest today will bring us over 40 years of experience in empowering women and entrepreneurs toward confidence, well-being, and purpose. I'm very excited. When you met her, you see how cute and sweet she is, and you will have no idea she have been in business for over 40 years already, believe me. So Anne-Marie is a mindset coach and best-selling author, helping people who are stuck to successfully navigate and transition through the changing seasons of life, bringing lasting breakthrough from the inside out. So without further ado, please welcome Anne-Marie to Get Unstuck podcast. Hi, Anne-Marie. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mutita. I'm doing great, and it's so good to see you and to have met you and spent some time with you. And I look forward to helping people get unstuck, giving some tips that I've learned.
I appreciate you so much, and I'm so excited to speak with you today. Before we get started to the topic that we have prepared, I would like to time travel a little bit. How did you started your entrepreneurial journey though?
I actually started when I was 18. Well, maybe before that. When I was younger, I'm one of those, do it myself people. And so I've always been into self-care since I can remember. And I think when I turned 15 or 16, it started with, I want to buy my own shampoos and conditioners because I have very curly hair. And so I needed certain things for it to not be so curly, right? So I talked to my mom, or maybe I did or I didn't. I told her that I wanted to get a job just part-time at a local store. And so I started off in the fashion department. Where I was responsible for, the clothes, the fitting room, bringing the seasonal things out, making sure that, stuff was priced correctly and that kind of thing. So that was fun. So that led me to, being able to buy my own, my own personal items, for showering, for hair, and then it started with some makeup. And the makeup that I was using, I actually won a gift certificate at an event, and I got a free facial, and I really liked the makeup that they used because I have a little bit of rosacea on my face. And so, it tends to get red sometimes and that kind of thing. So I was looking for something that would work for me and not make me break out. And I had gone to a concert the night that I had the facial, and, being 17 or 16 or 17, who takes their makeup off when they get home, So the next day when I woke up, it was exactly the same as what, the makeup had been put on. And I was like, I love this stuff. I don't have a rash. It looks good on me even after sleeping in it. So I ended up signing up with that company, and I worked with them for years. I built a team. I earned a lot of awards. And so that started my, my self-care journey, my being my own person. And because I didn't want to work for somebody else. I didn't want someone telling me when I can go to the bathroom, when I can have my lunch, and, no, you can't have this holiday off because you have to be on the floor, you know? And so that was very appealing to me. And that's what started my journey. I eventually went to college for business administration and management so I could work in an office, but I always went between the two jobs, and I always kept with the skincare and kept with my team and that kind of thing. But every once in a while, I would get something somewhere else just for, I don't know. I just like to be busy. But that's been my vein, since I was younger. And so I was coaching people to move forward and level up in their business, helping them, from scheduling to getting clients to overcoming their fears so that they could, as you said, level up and just get unstuck when they came up with issues that maybe, they couldn't move past, So everybody comes up to a wall that, it seems like they can't get over. So we need to, in life, see when it's coming and find ways to get out so that we can go over. And it usually comes at a time where growth is involved, especially like in business or life. If a next step is coming where we need to grow, just like children, they have growth spurts, and those growth spurts hurt. Like when, teenage boys or girls, or especially boys, when they're growing, they sometimes have, like their voice will change. So it sounds weird at first, but then you get used to it, and that kind of develops itself. And they also have issues with their bones because they're growing so quickly. Sometimes they have pain in their bones. And so we can experience discomfort when it's time to move forward, when it's time to move on to something or move away from something, because things change in life. There are people on the planet who have worked the same jobs for 40, 50 years, and then they retire and they move on. But for the most part, other personality, there's only like one or two personalities that actually do that. They're very steady people. Because I'm also a behavioral coach. And so we go by personality types and strengths, and like we were talking about, weaknesses. And so, some people need that steadiness, and they have jobs that are very steady, meaning like, say, an accountant, or somebody like that. Nurses, although they do get burned out and move on, and each person is different, and we have to embrace who we are so that we could have a thriving lifestyle where we're not just surviving and going on cruise control, steady throughout life, but really having a meaningful life. And you had asked me before about building legacy. So from the time we're born, every day that we live, we're building a legacy. We're building our character, we're building our integrity, we're building who we are. And so legacy doesn't just mean money. It means other things, books, jobs that you worked at where you were kind to people, kind to your family. Those are, as you're building yourself, you're building memories, you're building skills. And those are the legacies that we leave behind, is how did you leave other people? Not just what you left, but how did you leave them feeling, before you left? Like some families leave a lot of money, but they were never around to build memories with their children. They were never around for sports events or maybe holidays or things like that. And there has to be a balance where, and that's one of the things that I teach too, is not just being a good business person or a good coach or, being good in life. It's all about being a whole person so that every piece, there's nothing missing in our lives. So building a legacy is like a daily thing, because how I leave you today and how I leave your audience today, that's my legacy, right? So it's not just about the money and the monetary things that we leave behind, but the memories that we leave for people as we're living our lives. So yeah, so for years I did that. And as I was coaching people, I I learned that I liked coaching and I liked helping people. And then eventually I had some health issues, and I had cancer. And I was, right after I took care of my dad who passed away, I was diagnosed a few months later. And so that really changed my life. And when I came back from that, you know, I had a business where I'm also a licensed cosmetologist and makeup artist. So I did that for quite a few years on top of, just not just selling the makeup, but actually, putting it on for events and things like that. And we did a lot of weddings and, a lot of special events where people wanted to be pampered and put makeup on. So, but after I got cancer, I no longer wanted to do that because it was very stressful in a way, because for me, I like to do a good job. And those days, your first wedding or your wedding, hopefully it's only one, is one of your most important days of your life. If your daughter's getting married, or, even if you're having a holiday party and you want your makeup done, those are big days for people. And so I needed to be on top of my game. It's also a stressful day for people. So you're dealing with their stress as well. And so it was hard to lift my hands and to carry my things. And I just decided that I should we were talking about pivoting earlier. And so I had to figure out, who am I in this season of life? I'm going into a next season. What do I want that season to look like? And what's in me already now? Like, what skills do I have? And what skills do I need to do what I want? It was the same thing when I had my injuries and I had cancer. Like, I'm different now. I'm not the same as I was before because of this experience. And there were some negatives, but a lot of positives came out. And so what do I want to do with my life now? And that changed into coaching, almost full time, and writing my experiences down so that other people could benefit from what I went through. And I hope that there's enough resources out there that if we look to for help, we'll find it. And chances are that we'll make less mistakes if we choose to, because it is a choice. You can just do what you want, or you can learn from other people that have gone before you and take advantage of the mistakes that they made so that you don't make your own. I mean, we're still going to make mistakes, but, learning from other people and learning from yourself to be better later.
Do you see your client change throughout the year, as in the coaching clients?
Yeah. So a lot of my clients before, well, still now, but just in a different way. Like when I was coaching earlier, it was specific to that company. It was specific to starting a business. So it's not so much skincare now, but it's more of, what type of business do you want to have? And if you don't have the skill set to have that business, how can we get you those skill sets? And then we start the coaching, building discipline, having a daily schedule, having systems in place where, it's almost automatic, some things that can get done, because some things can be automated, some things cannot. So making it easier to do business, by acquiring different skill sets, because, I went from, like I said, cosmetologist, makeup artist, and coach on a smaller scale, to now, I'm like one thesis away from writing my thesis right now. And it's all about mindset and self-care and how they increase the serotonin and dopamine in our brains, which are the chemicals that help us to be happy and to function well. So that's my thesis. And then after I'm done with that, my thesis, and it's accepted, then I'll have my MBA in business and ministry. And so those were skill sets that I needed to acquire and build on in order to, get to my next step. Same thing with the behavioral part of it. I had to go to school to, to learn how to do those things, because I was fascinated with, how can four siblings, meaning my family, see the same exact thing, have the same experience, but each one of them sees it different, hears it different, feels it different, you know? And that was always fascinating to me. So that's why I went for the behavioral, because I think that when you recognize who you are and you have harmony within yourself with this is who I am, and these are the skills that I have, then it'll make me be able to choose things that are better for me, whether it's work or family situations, whether you go somewhere or you don't go somewhere. Some people are stressed out by holidays. Some people don't. It's okay to be somebody that likes to stay at home more than they like to be out. There should be a balance, because we do need community and we do need to be social, but it's okay if you're not social all the time, you know. And for those that need to be social, make sure that you're social in the right places. And it's okay so learning to respect the people that are around you, because you may have one personality, but other people have different personalities. And, you don't want to be a bull in a china shop where you come in and, when there's other people in the room that are totally different from who you are. So just kind of respecting, and if you're not made aware of those things, then I think things don't go as smooth. So that's why I chose to go in that direction as well. So to help my clients, I do an assessment with them. We find out who they are personally, who they are financially, because there's personalities and how we handle our finances too, and what their dreams are. There may be people that were put into a position of maybe they have a family business and they have to work that family business and they never lived their dream, so maybe you've tried something for years and you like it, but you're not happy doing it. And so I kind of help them to find things that make them happy while they're providing a service for somebody else or providing a life for somebody else.
So you mentioned about the skill sets
Mhm.
and the dreams. I want to know that which one actually come first, like skill set or purpose in life?
They're honestly, I think they're simultaneous, because um, you can have a burning desire in your heart to do something, but you don't have the skills to do it. But you can have XYZ skills and not know your purpose. So it kind of, like we were talking before, inside out. Some comes from the inside and some comes from the out, but it has to be a complete circle. So if you have the skill set, let's help you find a purpose, because some skills that we have are great, but they really don't serve a purpose in the world. I mean, everything is usable at one point, but if you want, like, okay, me, right? Total ends of the spectrum. Going from skincare, doing hair, doing makeup is a totally different skill set than running a business. You need to know about finances and you need to know how to run a business no matter what you're doing. But for my end, it was more about people. It was about application, that and running inventory, things like that. Whereas now as a coach, it's more of, um, helping people find their purpose, helping people find their skill set. So it's more about, I'm taking my skills that I learned throughout my life in business and helping them to have their own business. So it's really, if you don't think, everybody has a purpose, and drawing that purpose out is based on, let's find out who you are. And who you are a lot of times is based on what you like to do, so your skills. So it just kind of goes together. So if you have one and not the other, then we try to help you to harmonize those things. So if you're a good talker, chances are you'd be a good salesperson. If you are one of those personalities that are very influential and you can talk people into things, like going to a party when they're tired and they don't want to go, chances are you would probably be a good salesperson. A person who's very, set in their ways and they can make decisions very quickly, make good managers. People who are more into statistics and like the words have to be spelled correctly, and they're more the behind the scenes people that basically run the whole company. And then you have the other people that are more steady, that help to make things run, because they consider everybody else. They move a little bit slower because they want to make sure everybody has a good experience. They may not talk as fast or come to decisions as quickly, because they're not just thinking about themselves, they're thinking about everybody around them. But all of these people, if they know who each person is, and whenever they're in an environment, whether it's work or life, we can adjust ourselves. I may be a high eye right now, like, oh, but wait a minute, Susan's not that way, and Sandy's this way. Maybe I need to tone it down a little bit so that we can work together better right now. So I also, so skill set and purpose for me kind of goes hand in hand. And if you have one and not the other, that's okay. Both are easily acquired, because purpose comes with, what's your dream in your heart? What is it that you wanted to do all your life? And what does that look like for you? And then we just start painting a picture, right? And once you paint that picture, it might look ugly for a minute until all the colors are there and everything's done. But in the end, you have a perfect portrait. And then your skill set, you may be good at computers, you may be good at faces, you may be good with people. So what can we do based on your skill set to find you something that's going to make you happy? But deep down inside, once you've acquired the skill set and you have that purpose, then you have to stay steady. You have to know in your heart that this is what you're called to do, and not let anyone, especially people who don't know, trust, and love you, to change that purpose. And sometimes, and this is where what I call discernment, I'm sure everybody knows what discernment is, where you have to understand, why is this person saying this to you? Like, if they're knocking you down and you know that this is your purpose, then why? Okay. Why are they doing that? Some may not want to see you succeed. Some may not want you to fail. And so starting something new or doing something new, it may hurt you. So I don't want you to do it, like, especially like a mom with a child. But if you feel in your heart that this is your purpose, and what they're saying is great because they love you or because they don't want you to succeed, then there's a different story behind it, so we have to be discerning of why people are keeping us back or helping us to move forward. But if
Mm.
in what we want, and we know that this is what we want and this is what we're called to, then we need to be able to shut our ears to those who are not providing the wisdom that we need to move forward.
Mm.
Mm.
What about when you mentioned that this is the next season of my life or something? What are the season of life actually? Can you
Mhm.
explain me about that?
Okay. So just like there's seasons where, where now it's fall, things are dying. Next month it's going to be December, things are totally dead. Sometimes things have to be dead so that they can rise back to life. And so then you have your spring, where things are growing and growing well, and then summer, whatever was growing well is going to be even better. So recognizing, like, the seasons in our life, is it time for you to change something? Is it time for you to give yourself a push and move to the next level, whether it's in your business or your life? Do you continue to stay where you are if things aren't working? Do you need to move somewhere else? Do you need to find a different job? Just doing a regular assessment of what's happening in life, because a lot of people, unfortunately, from the time that they're younger till they get, you start to realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 40 soon. What have I done with my life? And when was it my second book or my third book? I can't remember. It was my third book. Yeah. So my birthday was around the time that I was writing my third book, because I had been writing the whole time. And so all of my books came out like within a year, so um, in my head, I heard, hey, and I knew my books were coming that day, and I made a mental note, my books are coming, and it was a Saturday. So I went on to do other things. I forgot that my books were coming. And I remember something happened. I don't know what, it wasn't major, and I started thinking, like, because we get thoughts, right? But they're not always our thoughts. And so if it's not aligning, you have to listen. And the thought was, you're going to be this big birthday now. What have you done with yourself? And all of these questions started coming that made me doubt, you know, um, maybe you're thinking to yourself, I haven't made a lot of money. I haven't impacted a lot of lives. I've gone from job to job and nothing ever sticks with me, whatever that thought is. So like, my life was flashing, and this voice was trying to tell me that I haven't done anything with my life. And then just as fast, because I catch myself pretty fast now. And that's one of the things, as you practice self-care, as you practice mindfulness and gratitude, you'll start to see, and I'm a big journaler. I like when you journal and you write things down, then your brain remembers more. And writing down your wins, what you've done, what you've accomplished, and also what needs to change. If we keep looking at that on a regular basis, then we won't have years of being asleep and then finally waking up one day and realizing that your life isn't what you wanted. So if we have those regular check-ins, then our lives will be more, succinct. So anyways, I turned the corner within a couple of seconds, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm almost done with my degree. Well, my 3 books are out. I mean, 2 of them were out. One of them was coming that day. And then the other one was already with the formatter on its way to being printed. So yes, I have accomplished something. Some people never wrote a book. So it's all about what's important to you, and recognizing that you have done good things in life and remembering them, because sometimes we forget what we've done. That's good. So
So how can we find, like, like, when we have self-doubt, we will start to think like, oh, these are our weakness, because we have been overthinking things, and therefore we didn't take actions. So
mhm.
our weakness are our blind spots, or how we eliminate this.
Okay. So we all have strengths and weaknesses. So the way I teach is to work on your strength and manage your weaknesses, because you don't want them to get bigger, but you do want to address them. But don't spend all your time working on your weaknesses and you don't work on your strengths, because the strengths are the things that are going to move you forward in life. And the weaknesses will be there, and you can work on them and get better with them, but don't focus on the, it's almost like life. If you focus on negativity all the time, and you never focus on anything positive, you're going to have a negative life. So take your strengths and use them to the best of your ability while you're managing, these other things that you want to get a little better at, you know,
Mm.
putting more focus on the things that, because the strengths are the things that matter. The strengths lead you to a prosperous life. The strengths lead you to your skills. I mean, if you're a circle and you're trying to fit into a square, it's not going to happen. So let's celebrate you as a circle and help you to move forward, but also being compatible when there's a square around, you know?
And how do you recognize something limits you from getting for achieving your goals or your dreams?
So there's a difference. Okay, say you're working on your strengths and you want to do a certain thing, or you want to accomplish a certain thing. Do you need a different skill set? Do you need more information? It's usually something that you need that you can get in order to build on that strength and move forward. Um, if you're not feeling good about yourself today, maybe you need to put on some music. Maybe you need to journal. Get yourself out of that mindset so that you can, and then focus on, and I call them, short moments of bravery. You may not be able to be brave for a whole hour, but you can be brave for 5 minutes. You can be brave for 10 minutes. You can be brave for 15 minutes. So small little acts of bravery. Because, you know, just recently, we went away for a wedding. And when we got back, you know, we were with family, we had a great time. And like I said, I'm in the middle of finishing my MBA, and I have all these other irons in the fire. I'm also helping aspiring authors to get their books out. So I have some manuscripts I need to edit and that kind of thing. So I went to the wedding, I came back, and I, you know, unpacked and did all those things we do when we come back from a trip. And then after that, I couldn't move for like 3 days. Every time I went to go get up, it was like this hand, you know, and I'm thinking, I have all these things I need to do, but I couldn't move, right? And so I did what I could. I went to bed, I got up, I walked, I, you know, took care of my family, but doing the big goals, couldn't do it. 3 days later, or was it 3 or 4 days later, we got a phone call that my father-in-law passed away. So we had to go back, you know, and go through everything that you go through when someone passes, spending time with family. And then we came back, and it was a couple of days just, you know, just grieving. And I mean, I really was lost. It was almost like I walked out of that life and came into another life, you know, like changes. And I totally forgot what I was working on, what I was doing, what I was focused on, my goals, you know? And so being a coach, I said to myself, well, I'm going to coach myself. So what are you afraid of? Why can't you, you know, go back to your to-do list? Let's see what's on the to-do list. What do we need to do? Because it was, I should mention that one of my car accidents that I had where I was very young, and I was paralyzed for almost a year, like partially paralyzed. Paralyzed for a while, and then, you know, I got to walk, and but partial still, where I needed a lot of care. That also came with a traumatic brain injury. Not bad, but things like this would happen where I lose time and I lose space, right? So I just took out my iPad and I went into my notes, and I actually wrote, you know, sometimes I journal on paper and sometimes I journal on the computer. And so what am I afraid of? You know, what is keeping me from doing what I'm supposed to do? What are the things that I feel like I need to be doing and I need to be accomplishing that I'm not accomplishing? So I made this list of all of these things, and then I started breaking them down into bite-sized pizzas, you know. And one of the big things was the thesis, because I had to come up with a thesis statement in order to do the thesis at that time. And so writing things down to see where you are, why, because chances are, for the most part, when we're afraid to do something, that's what keeps us stuck, is fear. Because we may not know how to do it, we may not want to do it, we may feel like, you know, people are going to laugh at me if I do it, because it's different from what everybody else is doing. So so acknowledging those things, and once I looked at it on paper, it was like, this is stupid. Why am I afraid? All I have to do is, you know, and even if I don't know what my thesis is, I'm just going to keep writing until I figure it out. You know, even if I can't get this done, I'm going to figure out a way to get it done. And a lot of times going to bed with a question gives you an answer, usually the next day or the other day, because when we sleep, our minds are in total restoration mode. They are repairing, the body's repairing itself, and it's finding ways to, you know, we have a hypothalamus in the back of our brain that doesn't know the difference between the lie and the truth. That's why your voice and your thoughts are so powerful, because whatever it hears is what it's going to do and what it's going to look for. And so if you don't want to look for bad things, don't think bad things or say bad things, you know. So I usually go to bed asking a question, and my mind goes to work to find the answer to that question. But writing things down gets us unstuck. Actually facing the fear, whether it's on paper or talking to another person, once that fear is faced, it's in the light. And fear is dark, right? So whenever you go into a room and turn on the switch or light a candle, what happens? The darkness disappears. So when you shine that flashlight on those fears, then it can't stay, you know? The light comes, we get the information we need, we get the next best steps, and as we follow, more will open up for us. So it's taking those little tiny steps of courage that leads to hours of courage, where you could work on that project or that thing for a long period of time before the next growth spurt comes, where you have to actually sit, think, and what's my next step.
What practice do you need to have to keep develop this like change and always aware of yourself in these transitions?
Well, first of all, hope that something better is out there for you and that you're not stuck in this place. Because when we become homeless, we get hopeless, we get stuck, right? When we just, when we're in the state of fear and doubt, we get stuck. And so being disciplined in life and taking care of ourselves helps that not to happen. Because you know maybe you just need to go for a walk right now, because walking is very good for your mind. Maybe you need to listen, like when I had the brain injury, I had very bad migraines, and I was very light sensitive, very noise sensitive, and sometimes it was really bad, but sometimes it was just um, like a steady pain for a few days, right? And my thoughts were not great. So I would hear a lot of doubt, because, some days I was well and some days I wasn't. So the consistency there wasn't the same. But if you learn to be consistent when you feel the consistency coming, you're more apt to accomplish more than when you're sitting. Like I could sit totally still right now and I could have thoughts of my brain's still working, not in a bad way to where I'm not resting. But when I sit there and just close my eyes, even if it's for 5 minutes, thoughts come that help me if I choose to focus on those things. And so I would put on my headphones back in the day. I still do sometimes when there's that barrage of thoughts where they're just coming, and you feel like you can't get away from them. So listening to music to me is a big thing. And sometimes I used to listen to it so loud so that the music was louder than the thoughts that I was experiencing, because our bodies also need vibration, and so that was another thing. The music was giving me the vibration that I needed to continue. And then journaling. So those things really got me out of where I was, for me. So those are the practices. And sometimes you have to walk away and come back in order to see the picture a little bit different, so that you know what to do next.
Mm.
If they sit there and they try to figure something out, you know, then, they sit there and they never get up to take a break, to let their minds and bodies take a break. And they can't see anything new because they're stuck in that one spot.
Absolutely. So, in case anyone want to work with you or follow you, where can they reach out to you then?
WeThriveAtLife.com. All of my books are there. All of my courses are there. There's a couple of free resources that you can download. One is 10 Vital Keys to go from thriving, from surviving to thriving. And then the other one is how to empower yourself, 5 keys to empower yourself, in business and life. So
I
those
will,
two that are free.
I will make sure that the links will be around here in the description as well as in the show notes. So this is a very gold nuggets details. I hope everyone listen. I will rewatch this episode. I'm like very kept in the moment of the information and knowledge that you share today. Thank you so much, Anne Marine, to join Get Unstuck podcast today.
Dear Mutita, thank you so much.
I hope this episode inspires you wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey so that you can have your business that supports your lifestyle. Get a show note at getunstuckmethod.com/podcast. Review what we have learned together today and start implementing right now. See it by yourself. The result of your consistent action are worth it. You deserve the freedom to enjoy your life. Until the next episode, let's get unstuck.